of the Mountain Man, Chapter 12. Mary Carson was showing Juanita Sanchez how to make biscuits in a small cabin where she was being held prisoner. "I'm pretty good with tortillas and tamales," Juanita said as she watched Mary roll dough into a flat sheet and then cut out circular pieces and place them on a sheet greased with lard, "but I never made biscuits." Mary smiled as she reached out to wipe flour off her nose. "It really isn't all that difficult, Juanita. The main thing you have to remember is not to cook them too long, or they become as hard as rocks." She glanced sideways at the Mexican. "Perhaps that's why some cowboys call themselves Sankers." Juanita giggled, just as Jim Slaughter and Whitey and Swade walked into the cabin. "Well," Slaughter said with a frown, "I see you women are getting along all right." Juanita blushed and stepped back away from Mary, as if she were afraid of seeming too friendly to the gang. Mary placed the metal sheet with the biscuit dough on it into the stove and closed the metal door. She turned and stared at the three men without a trace of fear on her face. "I was just showing Juanita how to make biscuits. I figured you men might like a change of pace from the Mexican food you seem to eat for every meal." "I don't do nothing wrong, Senor Slaughter," Juanita said, fear making her voice quiver. Slaughter waved a dismissive hand. "I know you didn't, Juanita. Why don't you leave us so we can have a little talk with Mrs. Carson?" "Si, senor." After the woman left, Slaughter stepped to the stove, took a steaming coffee pot off the burner, and poured coffee for himself and his men. They sat at the table and he motioned for Mary to take a seat with them. After she sat down, Slaughter wasted no time in preliminary conversation, but got right to the point of his visit. "I hear from my men that a man named Smoke Jensen has joined your husband, and they're on their way here." He watched Mary's expression closely to see what effect his announcement would have on her. She smiled and nodded. "I figured he would," she said. "You knew this was gonna happen?" Swade asked, leaning forward and staring at her through narrow eyes. "Of course," she replied, looking from one to another of the men. "Big Rock is a small community, and we all tend to help one another out when needs be." "Just what do you know about this Smoke Jensen?" Slaughter asked. "He's the only man I know who's faster on a draw and more dangerous than my husband, Mr. Slaughter." Slaughter's face showed his puzzlement. "But why would a man go so far as to travel several hundred miles and risk his life just to help a neighbor out and something that's none of his business?" he asked. "Perhaps it's because you kidnapped me, Mr. Slaughter. You see, in the West, men value their womenfolk above all else. I've heard of men being hanged just for showing disrespect for a lady, and to go so far as to steal a man's wife and try and collect a debt. Well, it just isn't done where I come from." "That don't exactly answer my question, Mrs. Carson. This Smoke Jensen has quite a reputation as a gun hog and a killer. He ain't no gentleman who's likely to go around avenging women who are disrespected, as you put it." Mary leaned back in her chair and got a strange look on her face. "There's a lot you don't know about Mr. Jill Smoke Jensen, Mr. Slaughter. It may well be that this situation has a particular significance to Smoke." "What do you mean?" "I'm going to tell you men a story about Smoke that my husband once told me. It may explain why Smoke will never let you get away with what you've done." Slaughter pulled a cigar out of his pocket, struck a lucifer on his boot, and lit it. As thick clouds of pungent blue smoke trailed from his nostrils, he said, "Go ahead." when Smoke was just a young man in his first years living in the mountains. He took a young woman as his wife. They lived up in the high lonesome for a couple of years. They had a baby, a son that Smoke loved very much. Mary's eyes misted as she recalled the details of the story. At the time, there was a price on Smoke's head, and a band of bounty hunters tracked them up into the mountains. As luck would have it, when the men arrived at the small log cabin in the woods where Smoke and Nicole lived, Smoke wasn't there. One of their cows had wandered off, and Nicole told him they needed milk for their son to drink. So Smoke went looking for the cow. While he was gone, the bounty hunters burst into the cabin, guns drawn. They were furious when they found Smoke wasn't there, and as men will, they began to do horrible things to his wife and son, trying to find out where Smoke had gone to. Some premeditated sense of warning caused Smoke to pull out short of his home. He made a wide circle, staying in the timber back of the creek, and slipped up to the cabin. By then, Nicole was dead. The acts of the men had grown perverted, and in their haste, her throat had been crushed. Felter sat by the lean-to and watched the valley in front of him. He wondered where Smoke had hidden the gold. Inside, Cannon drew his skinning knife and scalped Nicole, tying her bloody hair to his belt. He then skinned a part of her, thinking he would tan the hide and make himself a nice tobacco pouch. Kid Austin got sick to his stomach watching Cannon's callousness and went out the back door to puke on the ground. That moment of sickness saved his life for the time being. Grissom walked out the front door of the cabin. Smoke's tracks had indicated he had ridden off south, so he would probably return from that direction. But Grissom felt something was wrong. He sensed something, his ears on the Owl Hoop back trail surfacing. Felter? He called. Yeah? Felter stepped from the lean-to. What's wrong? Something's wrong. I feel it. But what? I don't know. Grissom spun as he sensed movement behind him. His right hand dipped for his pistol. Felter had stepped back into the lean-to. Grissom's palm touched the smooth wooden butt of his gun as his eyes saw the tall young man standing by the corner of the cabin, a Colt .36 in each hand. Lead from the .36 hit him in the center of the chest with numbing force. Just before his heart exploded, the outlaw said "smoke," then he fell to the ground. Smoke draped the gun belt and pistols from the dead man, Remington Army .44s. A bounty hunter ran from the cabin, firing at the corner of the building, but Smoke was gone. Behind the house, Felter yelled, running from the lean-to, his fist full of Colts. He slid to a halt and raced back to the water trough, diving behind its protection. A bounty hunter who had been dumping his barrels in the outhouse struggled up to pull up his pants, at the same time pushing open the door with his shoulder. Smoke shot him twice in the belly and left him to scream on the outhouse door. Kid Austin, caught in the open behind the cabin, ran for the banks of the creek, panic driving his legs. He leaped for the protection of a sandy embankment twisting in the air, just as Smoke took aim and fired. The ball hit Austin's right buttock and traveled through the left cheek of his butt, tearing out a sizable hunk of flesh. Kid Austin, the would-be gun hand, screamed and fainted from the pain in his ass. Smoke ran for the protection of the wood pile and crouched there, recharging his Colts and checking the .44s. He listened to the sounds of men in panic, firing in all directions and hitting nothing. Moments ticked past, the sound of silence finally overpowering the gunfire. Smoke flicked away sweat from his face. He waited. Something came sailing out the back door to bounce on the grass. Smoke felt hot bow built in his stomach. Someone had thrown his dead son outside. The boy had been dead for some time. Smoke fought back sickness. You want to see what's left of your woman? A taunting voice called from near the back door. I got her hair on my belt and a piece of her hide to tan. We all took a time or two with her. I think she liked it. Smoke felt rage charge through him, but he remained still, crouched behind the thick pile of wood until his anger cooled to control venom-filled fury. He unslugged the big, sharp buffalo rifle Preacher had carried for years. The rifle could drop a 2,000-pound buffalo at 600 yards. It could also punch through a small log. The voice from the cabin continued to mock and taunt Smoke, but Preacher's training kept him cautious. To his rear lay a metal void of cover. To his left was a shed, but he knew that it was empty, for it was still barred from the outside. The man he plugged in the butt was to his right, but several fallen logs would protect Smoke from that direction. The man in the outhouse was either dead or tossed out. His screaming had ceased. Through a chink in the logs, Smoke shoved the muzzle of the sharps and lined up where he thought he had seen a man move, just to the left of the rear window, to where Smoke had framed it out with rough pine planking. He gently squeezed the trigger, taking up slack. The weapon boomed, the planking shattered, and the man began screaming in pain. Cannon ran out the front of the cabin to the lean to the sliding down hard beside Felter, behind the water truck. This ain't working out, he panted. Grinson, Austin, Poker, and now Evans is either dead or dying. The slug from that buffalo gun blowed his arm off. Let's get the hell out of here. Felter had been thinking the same thing. What about Clark and Sam? They growed, man. They can join us or they can go to hell. Let's ride. They always another day. They will hide up in these mountains, see which way he rides out, then bushwhack him. Let's go. They raced for their horses, hidden in a bend of the creek behind the bank. They kept the cabin between themselves and smoked as much as possible, then belly down in the meadow the rest of the way. In the creek, and water red from the wounds in his butt. Kid Austin growled, crawled upstream, crying in pain and humiliation. His Colts were forgotten, useless anyway. The powder was wet. All he wanted was to get away. The bounty hunters left in the house. Sam and Clark looked at each other. I'm getting out, Sam said. That ain't no pilgrim out there. The hell with that, Clark said. I humped his woman. I'll kill him and take the 10,000. Your option. Sam stepped out the front and caught up with the others. Kid Austin reached his horse first. Yelping as he hit the saddle, he galloped off toward the timber in the foothills. Your wife don't look so good now, Clay called out to Smoke. Not since she got a haircut and one titty skinned. Deep silence had replaced the gunfire. The air stank of black powder, blood, and relaxed bladders and bowel death induced. Smoke had seen the men ride off into the foothills. He wondered how many were left in the cabin. Smoke remained still, his eyes burning with fury. Smoke's eyes touched the stiffening form of his son. If Clark could have read the man's thoughts, he would have stuck the muzzle of his .44 into his mouth and pulled the trigger, ensuring himself a quick death, instead of what waited for him later on. Yes, sir, Clark taunted him. He went into profane detail about the rape of Nicole and the perverted acts that followed. Smoke eased slowly backward, keeping the wood pile in front of him. He slipped down the side of the knoll and ran around to one wall of the cabin. He grinned. The bounty hunter was still talking to the wood pile. to the muzzle of the sharp stuck through the logs. Smoke eased around to the front of the cabin and looked in. He saw Nicole, saw the torture marks on her, saw the hideousness of the scorpion and the skinning knife. He lifted his eyes to the back door, where Clark was crouching just to the right of the closed door. Smoke raised his .36 and shot the pistol out of Clark's hand. The outlaw howled and grabbed his numb and bloody hand. Smoke stepped over Grimsom's body, then glanced at the body of the armless bounty hunter, who had bled to death. Clark looked up at the tall young man with the burning eyes. Cold, slimy Fair put a bony hand on his shoulder. For the first time in his evil life, Clark knew what death looked like. "You're gonna make it quick, ain't you?" "Not likely," Smoke said, then kicked him on the side of the head, dropping Clark unconscious to the floor. When Clark came to his senses, he began screaming. He was naked, stalked out a mile from the cabin on the plain. Rawhide held his wrists and ankles to thick stakes driven into the ground. A huge ant mound was just inches from him, and Smoke poured honey all over him. "I'm a white man," Clark screamed. "You can't do this to me." Slobber sprayed from his mouth. "What are you, half Apache?" Smoke looked at him, contempt in his eyes. "You will not die well, I believe." He didn't. "Jesus," Wade whispered, sweat appearing on his forehead. Slaughter took his head to clear it of the images Mary had implanted in his mind. "What happened to the rest of the men who rode off?" Whitey asked, though he thought he knew the answer. Mary shook her head. "You don't want to know. Suffice it to say they had all died in horrible ways at Smoke's hand." Slaughter stared at her through narrow eyes. "So you think our taking you has made this a personal matter with Jensen, huh?" A small sad smile tugged at the corners of Mary's mouth. "Yes, I do. And if I know my neighbors, Smoke Jensen won't be the only man to ride with Monty. I'm very afraid you've bitten off more than you can chew, Mr. Slaughter," she added with a slight nod of her head. "This is all bullshit, boss." Whitey growled as he stood up and drank the rest of his coffee. "Ain't no man gonna ride over 300 miles just because some old bounty hunters once killed his wife and son." Slaughter turned to look at the albino, a resigned look on his face. "I'm afraid you're wrong, Whitey. I would, and evidently so would this gunfighter named Smoke Jensen." Suede sleeves sweat off his forehead. His eyes troubled. "I think we made a big mistake bringing this woman here, boss." Slaughter nodded. "Maybe so, but it can't be helped now. Remember, we're holed up in the best place on earth to defend against any attempt by Monty and his friends to rescue Mrs. Carson. There simply ain't no way they can get in here without us knowing about it beforehand. So what are we gonna do about it?" Sway asked. His face knotted with worry. Slaughter shrugged. "Nothing for the moment. I'm sure that if we do no harm to Mrs. Carson, Monty will be more than glad to hand over the money he owes us and take his wife on home. If she tells him we treated her all right, he won't have no kick coming. After all, it is our money he stole." When Mary smiled, Slaughter wailed on her. "What are you grinning about?" He almost screamed. "I'm afraid you've forgotten what kind of man my husband is, Mr. Slaughter. It doesn't matter whose money it is. Now that you've involved me in this matter, he will never rest until he sees you dead and buried. Even if you get the money in a trade for me, you will have to spend the rest of your lives looking back over your shoulders for Monty Carson. And someday, somehow, when you least expect it, he will be there and you will cease to exist." Like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Bye.